one of them was submerged in the water, which is not unusual behavior for hyenas. They are quite comfortable in water. Oh, an elephant. Maybe we'll get some interaction here between the two species. Not too worried about them, but still ears sort of raised. You can see like almost look like they're standing up slightly taller. And watch those trunks. Look how they're twisting. A very subtle sign of agitation, if you will, when they'll do that. Noses up in the air, trunks up in the air, also giving them a good sniff. But those hyenas know to stay clear of elephants. And now the elephants are coming down for a drink. I see there are quite a few of you saying good morning. Earth sign, you've gone Taylor with an exclamation. It's me. And then Catherine, good morning, Taylor, Tucker, and little Kambur. Kambur has been very naughty this morning, including jumping in the swimming pool and then running through the house, and I couldn't catch him to put him back outside. So that's fun. I'll be remopping the floors after this. And Cookster, you said a nice start off. Absolutely, you're correct. That couldn't have been more perfect. I wonder what the hyenas were up to last night. Could anybody hear any chaos from, on the dam cam? Because of course you can watch the Juma camera all the time. And quite often, those of you that do watch regularly, they're so helpful for when we go out first thing in the morning. Because you see and hear maybe what we've missed while we've been sleeping. Oh, speaking of the dam cam, I'm just reading now that there were some lions contact calling. Interesting. Very cool. And then I think the same hyenas, those same three that we've just watched, were also lingering around a little bit earlier. So I wonder what's been happening. Maybe there has been a kill, or who knows, actually. It could be a number of different things. Looks like there's a little bit of wind today. Just see how the camera shakes every now and then. Must be a hot day if the elephants are coming down to drink in the Sabi Sand, but let's go check out what the weather is going to be in all the different locations. It does, in fact, look like a beautiful day, that we're going to have pool parties all around. So remember to get those questions in. Although I can ramble on for hours, I prefer talking to all of you. So I'll also be keeping out on the YouTube stream. We've got a couple more people joining. Cami G, you said, oh my goodness, these elephants are saying so much. Smells in the water dash prance. It was quite cool. And then Billy, you said good morning. JD here. Cheers from the Canadian Rockies. And yeah, we'll keep an eye out on that. But thank you so much for joining this morning. I know it's the weekend, so hopefully we'll have a few more of you watching. I don't know what's actually going on with the World Cup with the rugby, because I never watch sports, so I'm not sure what all the South Africans are up to today. I don't think after last night many of them will be leaving bed or the couch. And up they go. Watch how easily they're able to navigate. You can see that little one is going down on its knees. That's a very clever motion. So people that say that elephants can't climb, this is a perfect example. And in fact, they can climb much steeper embankments. Also, look how resting their trunk. A bit easier for the older elephants that are slightly taller. Oh, that little one's it's a bit slippery. Oh, off we go. Oh, struggling a little bit and almost lose their footing. So underneath their feet, you know, the older they get, once again, those feet kind of become more. What's wrong with me? I do this every single day. I need to take like Amiga tablets. There's something wrong with my brain. Calloused is the word. And you also see these big grooves that are forming. So that's going to help with traction. If you've ever seen an elephant track in the sand, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And you can see all those sort of cracks. It makes for a lovely track. There's really nothing you can mistake an elephant track for. I almost thought on the right there were more elephants, but they are not moving. So I think it's the fallen down trees. Just at the back. The guaris are nice and thick. Those bright green trees. And it looks like some of the bush willows are also getting lovely greenery. And the poor elephant right at the back. Desperate to still have a drink, but the herd is on the go. Big matriarch up in front, as usual. Maybe she's just looking for a specific spot to have a drink. And a hippopotamus! Hello, hippo. Sorry if your volume's turned up and you heard me shout. I just get excited about wildlife. 2 hippos so far. Could it be Dewey, the hippopotamus that lives quite often in this dam? Everybody having a cup of coffee this morning? I made a smoothie. If anyone's interested. Become the smoothie queen. I reckon elephants would like the smoothies that I make. Hippos, maybe not so much. Let me know if you want me to tell you what I put in it. Oh, the chat is so active today. That's awesome. Kathy Lee's also jumped on, and you've actually mentioned, just going back to the hyenas, that it was Swazi, Hart, and Mbilo. They were on the camera earlier, and I think it probably was the same 3. I mean, the Juma clan of hyenas is quite big, so it could have been other individuals, but if those 3 were hanging about, then potentially it could have been them again. Hopefully we get another glimpse of the hyenas and we can carry on with the conversation. Matriarch leading to a much better spot. Yesterday we also had them around this area, and then they had a bit of a mud bath. It'd probably be a bit easier to have a mud bath there than on the other end of the dam. Oh, Stephen Yates, you've said that you've got tea. Catherine, I'm having a mango lassi and cake for the Waterhole watch. Oh, I wish I was there to join you. That sounds delicious. Anybody else? I would like to have cake for breakfast. I suppose mine's a bit of like a cake. Put protein powder in it. Does that count? You can see that one cow still just picking up her trunk every now and then. And there could have obviously been lions and a bunch of animals around. Oh, Jackie, you said good morning from a sweltering England. I've heard the temperatures have been quite extreme. How's everybody coping? And off they go. Maybe they'll come back again a bit later to have a proper mud bath. Oh, Rashawn, thank you for commenting. You said that this is what your Saturday is all about, peace and tranquility. Well, we'll definitely experience that, and hopefully you can all hear very nicely, not necessarily the sound of my voice, but the birds chirping in the background. And when we go to some of the other cameras that are a bit closer to the waterhole, we'll most certainly be hearing the elephants splashing about. Yesterday was a great drive. Not a drive, goodness, a great drive. A great show. We had a lot of action. Oh, my bad. There's the perfect mud wallowing spot. You can even see how little depressions have actually even formed from animals regularly wallowing there. The elephants do a great job at digging them out.
Do you love relaxing at a waterhole with the sights and sounds of Africa all around you? Well, we have some really exciting news for you. From August 1st, Africam is joining forces with WildEarth to bring the majesty of Africa right into your living room with 9 incredible new waterhole cameras from across South Africa and Kenya. Get ready to embark on a new journey. This is Live at the Waterhole.
It's great that the elephants are just sticking around for a little bit longer. You can also see some movement in the water just below that one tree. It looks like the an Egyptian goose. But we quite often see them around here. Maybe after these elephants disappear, we can head back towards the hippos and just take a look at them. And off they go, just like that, disappearing. They seem to be going back in the direction that they came from, or at least one of them was off to the right. Maybe they just will feed you for a bit longer, and then kind of move off. A lot of them go. There's sort of a road just up and behind the marula trees, and then it enters into what we would call a block, quite a large area before it gets to the boundary road. And the elephants love to spend a lot of time in there. But they might also be entering a little drainage line that's off to the right-hand side, quite far off of this screen. Hello, hippo. So yesterday there were 3 here. It was a male and then a female with calf. Now, I know we call all the hippos, or all the male hippos that are in this waterhole, dewy, but it's obviously quite difficult to tell if it's the same individual. And because this waterhole is quite full, it's going to be a sought after spot from many different hippos. It's like, for example, yesterday morning, I didn't see a hippo in it, but we also maybe just didn't scan the dam correctly. So some days there are hippos in here, and then other days not so much. But because it's dry, hippos are having to move so far away from the water's edge. And if they kind of get to a point where they're grazing and there's another water source close by, they're going to go straight in it, as long as it's big enough and there aren't too many other hippos in it. Obviously, larger bodies of water can contain more families, but a place like this, it would be quite difficult to just have 2 groups of different families here. Not quite families though, but you get what I mean. Pods. And with seeing this, many male hippos coming into this water hole, it also says to me that they're not necessarily the most dominant bulls, because if they were, they would be occupying, a better body of water. Not that I think that this is a bad one, but with a lot more females around. Or maybe he was, and now he's just been booted out, or perhaps just wanted some time alone. Is it possible that we can turn the volume up just so I can hear some of the ambient noises? We have some birds calling. There we go. You can hear water thickney whistling away. Kathy Lee, you said that currently Tessa, Cedric, and James are at Juma. Maybe when I get there, the girls can double up against the guys. Yeah, we could definitely do that. I'm wondering if I get there, though, who might be leaving. I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions, but I actually have no idea. I don't know if it's maybe James. He obviously can't always spend too much time at Juma because he's got a lot of other commitments. And Kathy, you said it's 3:48 a.m. Taylor, I don't let you sleep. I'll stop talking. I'll just whisper. Rashawn, you're too kind. You said that I add to all of this. Thank you. That makes my day. As I just rattle on and on and on. You just tell me when I need to be quiet. I don't mind. Actually, if you can hear my audio other than my voice, you should be able to hear a sunbird. There's, in the distance is those flowering knobthorn, which I'll be attracted to. The other hippo on the right seems to be very shy. Unless the water is just too deep and she's unable to stand, then move into another area if that's the case. What a cuckoo that I could hear calling.
Do you remember the stars of Juma? Tandi, Hosanna, Darkmane, and many more will appear in our tribute. In honor of Animal Remembrance Month, join us as we look back at the characters that stole millions of hearts across the globe. Watch it live. Wild Earth. We are Safari.
The hippos are quite fascinating. I mean, obviously, watching them do their thing when they're in the water, especially during midday, is not what we would call entertaining, but it's valuable after you've been walking around all night in search of grazing. And like I said a moment ago, with it being so dry, they're going to have to move even further away from the permanent water sources. It actually isn't very much known about the early hippopotamus and sort of their ancestry. There's only a little bit of evidence in fossils, and that was during the Miocene period. Obviously, the pygmy hippo are also fossils of that, but they are two very different species. And why I say that is because the hippos that we are looking at right now are a lot more social. We see them in pods. However, in forested areas throughout Africa, they are solitary, much smaller, of course, but they live on their own. They don't form pods. Obviously, males will go out in search of females, but that might be the only interactions that they would have. I'm sure, of course, other males would bump into each other, potentially fighting for space. I've never seen a pygmy hippo, but I'd like to. I've seen pictures. Then you hear the hornbills. They're busy doing a display. That's that call that you can hear. Not at Juma, but in my garden. And some oxpeckers have just landed on the hippo to have a drink. Quite convenient for those birds. Obviously, drinking at the edge of the water, can be quite vulnerable, but I reckon perching on top of a hippo's head, you've got a better chance of not being captured. Good luck to a bird of prey like a little sparrowhawk or one of the hawk eagles, which are specialists in catching birds. Even the goshawks, they'd be not very, I don't think it would be a very common sight to see one swooping down and grabbing an oxpecker off a hippo's head. It'd be impressive though. I wish we could do these live cameras from my garden. There's so much wildlife here. I know. Kathy, Lee, you've reminded WildEarth that the 19th of September is Talk Like a Pirate Day. We've done this before. We have all dressed up as pirates, well, the best to our ability. I think I made some kind of beer at one point. And if I'm not mistaken, many years ago, James actually pulled off the best pirate talking voice. I'm going to have to watch a couple of videos and practice it. Perhaps everybody that's attending a farewell this afternoon might enjoy me practicing. And they wouldn't even say that that was the strangest thing that I've done, to be quite honest. The only thing is, though, if we've all got to do it, you've got to join in with us and send in your videos or something. I don't know. I don't know what we could do, but it would be funny to see everyone's version. I might have to maybe I can train one of the hornbills and get it to sit on my shoulder. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find a fake bird and attach it somehow. Don't tell the other guides, the naturalists, what my plans are. It would also be great if we could find some one-eyed animals. Although not something that you really see every day, so that'd be quite hard to find. Well, these hippos seem to be chilling. I think that's what they're going to do for the rest of the day. So maybe we can pop back in a little bit later and maybe we can go check out one of the other cameras. And it seems like Jamala is the camera that we're going to be going to. Oh, gosh, yesterday Madikwe was full up. Not even as early as this either. I'm pretty sure we're going to have another busy day. Not a cloud in the sky. They're really turning, though, what once was a waterhole into basically a wallow, with some of the larger animals like elephants and buffalo specifically coming down to just roll around in the mud or toss mud over themselves. It keeps stirring up the water, but it has dried out significantly, even just in the last week. Morning meeting time, but I will not be attending. It's also great to see the wildebeest, but they don't tend to stay at the waterhole for too long. Just a quick sip of water, and they might even come back and drink twice on hot days like today. And I suppose if all the elephants continuously drink where the pipe is that is pumping water into this area, it's never really going to fill up, is it? And yesterday, I said maybe there were like 50 or 70 elephants. I'm pretty sure just before we ended the show that there were even more. Susan, you said that you really enjoy seeing the baby elephants. They are so cute. You're not wrong. We haven't got any youngsters, but we're going to keep an eye out. Like I said, I think the herds are just going to keep rolling in. There are quite a few elephants. I think the last update that I read is up that they have over 900 elephants on 75,000 hectares. We don't often say that you're guaranteed to see elephants, but I feel like at Madikwe you will be guaranteed. And you can really just spend all day with them. Always on the go, always doing something, except when they're having a siesta. But even then. There's a couple of you that are mentioned, especially Billy. You said all of these elephants remind you of Maurice. And Catherine, you're wondering, yeah, whatever happened to Maurice? Well, if you don't know who Maurice is my pet elephant. Not really a pet elephant, he's a stuffed elephant. He wears a scarf. And I got him in Kenya. I think it was for my 25th birthday. Yeah, it must have been my 25th birthday. I arrived in Kenya on that day for the first time. And a couple of people got me a bunch of different gifts, but Maurice was my absolute favorite. But the deal was that Maurice comes everywhere with me. He's been on hot air balloons. He's been to every African country that I've been to. He even came with me to Sri Lanka when I worked there for a few months. So only place he had, I didn't think I took him to Australia the last time I went. I should have. Anyways, and wherever I go and try and get a traditional outfit for him. So while he was while I was in Kenya, I made him a shuka. A shuka is like a piece of material that is kind of worn like, I suppose you can compare it to a shawl. You can wear it in many different ways. But the Maasai herders and the warriors will actually wrap it around their shoulders and tie it in front, and that'll keep them warm through the night. And they are very warm, and typically bright checkered colors. So yeah, he's still around. I still have never washed him. I do need to wash him, but I'm too scared to put him in the washing machine. So I might have to do a little hand wash. He can soak in a bath. Kathy Lee, I don't know if this is aimed at me. Where you said that you have a mum crush because you have 3 sons, and she, I'm assuming, is me. I'd be the daughter that you want. That's so funny. I think my mom says the opposite. No, Sham, I give my parents a hard time. I have for years. Can you blame them? Right. But if someone wants to adopt a 31-year-old, go for it. I'm keen. Maybe we can figure out some kind of deal. Impala, also coming in, normally a bit nervy, but I think they're going to take advantage of the waterhole being so empty. Yesterday we had a giraffe coming down, but was quite hesitant to drink the water, but that's because of all the elephants that we had around. So you can just see not many ellies, and they all come streaming down from the tree line at the back. Nothing just yet. I wish I haven't really seen too many different bird species here.
Did you know that the WildEarth team makes weekly behind the safari content? Would you like to get to know the WildEarth family better? See how we live.
This is Igor's bedroom.
Learn about our production process. And see the antics that happen off camera. Sign up to be an explorer and you will get access to all this content and more.
looks like it's from Namibia with how it's tossed lighter colored soil all over itself. But we'll wait for this waterhole to pick up a bit. In the meantime, it seems like Old Donyo is bustling with wildlife. Oh, look at the variety. Ground zebra, fringed-eared oryx, and elephants, all peacefully drinking with one another, which is surprising, as we know how elephants can be. And if we keep watching the zebra, we could also see a squabble amongst them. They have to kick and bite one another. Tails wishing. I wonder if it's possible again, if we can just up the ambience just a little bit. Oh, it's always so hard to hear from my side. You should be able to hear those zebras snorting. You can just start to hear the hooves. That's a bit better. Cats on your tripod. It is so busy at Old Donyo. Yesterday we actually didn't go to Old Donyo very often. We had so much excitement in all the different animals. I used to, reading books and research papers about East Africa makes me sad. I suppose the same thing is similar in South Africa, but there were so many elephants, before the 1980s. Lots of them were unfortunately hunted and poached, of course, because the price of ivory went up quite substantially. That would have obviously been, the trade routes would have been very active, and a lot of people from sort of more northeastern countries would have been quite excited to get their hands on a piece of ivory. And they reckon up to 80% of elephants had declined during this period. Isn't that horrific? Very sad. So people would have poached elephants for ivory, but also a lot of the hunters back in the day came through with groups of people. And the elephant meat would also be used to feed everyone. Makes me very sad though. But of course, back then, people were none the wiser. These days there should be not really any excuse. Well, Catherine, this is actually quite interesting. You just mentioned that you have videos of your father's trip to Kenya from the 70s and 80s, and there were so many big tuskers. That's really sad. Obviously, or East Africa is still known for its tuskers, specifically Kenya, and in this region, Amboseli is the most famous, and it's not very far from where this private concession is. Yeah, that does make me sad. I've also seen lots of old photos where there's just hundreds of thousands of elephants moving. Same thing with big herds of buffalo. We obviously know wildebeest and zebra join up for the migrations. I suspect that there were many more animals that were a variety of species that were migrating during even the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. And it's crazy not crazy, it's just very sad how humans have had a massive effect on populations of wildlife, to the point where some of them have even gone extinct. Not always just from poaching and hunting, but habitat loss is a big threat to lots of wildlife, even to a lot of frogs. For example, it's the western olive toad, if I'm not mistaken, in the Western Cape of South Africa. There's a huge threat because of them crossing highways and roads and getting driven over and becoming roadkill. And then again, pollution in water systems, you name it. Well, this is an interesting topic. You've asked if it is true that the elephant populations exploded during the man-made waterholes. That could definitely have been a result of all the man-made waterholes. So, for those of you that don't know, I think it was also, I forget the date, please don't quote me, but the 1980s, somewhere around there, a lot of waterholes were created and introduced. It might even been a bit earlier than that to the Kruger Park. Just, people thinking that they're being kind and generous to wildlife. And because wintertime in this part of South Africa is extremely arid and there's not much food and water available for animals. So they thought, well, let's put water holes all over to make it a bit easier. But what that actually did is there are some animal species, for example, like sable, roan antelope, which prefer drier, more arid areas for the most part and don't always have to drink every single day. They moved away and they actually suffered. Whereas animals like elephants that would naturally migrate to other areas, so closer to river systems, even towards the Drakensberg Mountains, a lot of them were unable to, firstly because of physical barriers, fences for the most part. And then, yeah, so elephants were just kind of becoming more resident because there was water available all over. So yes, they always say that there's an overpopulation of elephants, and I get a little bit annoyed by that. Again, this is my personal opinion, because the only reason there's an overpopulation of elephants is because we have claimed so much of their wild spaces. So if we hadn't have done that, and I understand that us as humans, we have had to develop and expand, but it's kind of been to the degree where animals really suffer. So I wish technology was more advanced and we could see the effects of how humans actually affect animals and the natural world.
Stay up to date with the latest happenings at WildEarth. Discover what goes on behind the scenes and get a weekly recap of the best moments on the channel.
He's got it! And he's straight up a tree!
Sign up to be an explorer and receive our newsletter written just for you and sent straight to your inbox every week. WildEarth Explorers, a club for people who are passionate about nature.
Thank you for joining us and have a fantastic morning.
So Billy, I really like this question. You've asked if elephants are related to both mastodons and mammoths. Let's dive into this a little bit. Obviously, both mastodons and woolly mammoths occurred a very, very long time ago. I think the last woolly mammoth died off, is it about 10 to 12,000 years ago, which is in terms of time is actually not that long. So both mastodons and woolly mammoths, which I suppose are distant hairy cousins of modern elephants, they also both had proboscis. They had their trunks. So those are kind of some things, but then there was also some differences, physically between them, other than, well, both of them having hair is a common thing. So mastodons had flatter heads, whereas mammoths had a distinctive knob on top of their skulls, and that's basically just a protrusion of bone. They both also had very long tusks, but mammoth tusks grew at a curve and would quite often cross in front of another. So if you Google some images of mammoths, you can see that quite nicely, especially from all the bones that have been dug up and have been found. Whereas mastodons, their tusks grew a lot more linear. And sometimes, from what I've seen of images, it wasn't prevalent in all the photos I've seen. Sometimes they get these small little tusks kind of on their lower jaw as well, because the tusks that we are used to seeing are extensions of the incisors. They're just modified and used in a different way. And then there's also a difference between the mastodons and the mammoths, and this has got to do with their teeth. So mastodons' teeth, very different. They were more cone-shaped cusps, and they were really used to crush twigs and various vegetation. And then mammoths' teeth, I suppose, a little bit more similar to what we see with modern elephants. They have ridges and grooves, which is ideal for grinding up, tough grasses and any other kind of vegetation. So, like I said, more similar to the elephants that we see today. But mastodons, even they look quite similar to modern elephants, but they're actually not very closely related at all. And this is because the millions of years ago that they kind of separated their paths. So the ancestors of modern elephants and mammoths went their separate ways about 5 million ago, whereas mastodons branched off even earlier than that, so about 25 million years ago. So quite, you can see quite different. So at one point they would have been closely related, but the modern elephant wasn't even, wasn't even existed just yet. They do say though with mammoths that they're more closely related, I think due to DNA testing, to forest elephants than the savanna elephant, but again, not anything too close. And obviously the elephants that we see, even the forest and the savanna elephants, they don't have a lot of hair on their bodies, but that's because they live in very different climates. Mastodons and woolly mammoths, they would have had to have had a lot of hair and probably more fat to just kind of compensate for the cold, even freezing sort of temperatures. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question a little bit better. But of course, it's something that we can constantly do more research. And who knows, maybe that thought process again is going to change. Obviously, researchers, we always talk about, of course, with the way the technology is changing, we're going to find out more and more. But people aren't able to study everything all in one go. So maybe that's something that researchers will look back at in a little while. I know there's a really great book. I don't know if you've ever read it before. It's called Rewilding. And it's basically the rewilding process that's going on in Europe. And they talk about wanting to reintroduce elephants again as mega herbivores, just to see how that changes the ecosystem. They said they would not use savanna elephants, but they'd probably use forest elephants to do something like that. Can you imagine reintroducing an area with elephants and how much dung they'll produce? That will definitely help bring back insect populations, because also at one point there would have been dung beetle species, but they no longer exist. we know how invaluable dung beetles are to the ecosystem. And then in Essentia, there's a lovely question from Leander, who is just 8 years old. You're wondering, how do you tell a male elephant from a female elephant? So this is going to be a little bit tricky to show you right now, but what I want you to try and remember, Leander, is at a male elephant, we call a bull. Like, if you see a male cow, we call them bulls too. And if you look very carefully, you'll see that they've got much more rounded heads, which is quite an easy way to tell them apart. and then, of course, you can see the bump under their belly, which also makes them a boy. It's sort of closer towards their back legs. Whereas females, we call them cows, their foreheads are more square. They've got more of an angular shape to them. But it takes a little bit of practice to be able to do so. But I hope you keep on watching, and we'll hopefully see some more elephants, especially when we go to Jamala at some point, which is in Madikwe. We've had lots of elephants there. But these two elephants that we're looking at right now, these are bulls. These are male elephants. But you can't really see the shape of their heads here. So that's a bit tricky. Here's another, also again, an interesting question. I don't think I'm really qualified to answer this question, but let's give it a bash. Yoshimit, sorry. You've asked, do I think the current climate for animals around the world is better of today than it was 20 years ago? It's a hard one to question, because obviously people are a lot more conscious about sort of waste and a lot of greenhouse gases. Maybe I wouldn't say there's maybe a lot less pollution now, but people are definitely trying to make a change. But maybe in a couple more years' time it will get better. But the only thing that I can say is, I don't know if you've all heard of bioacoustics, and it's something really great to read up on. I'm actually listening to an amazing podcast. I just want to remember this woman's name very quickly, because I think you could all go and listen to her. Let me just go to my podcasts and shows. Where did it go? Maybe I saved it on this other app. Please bear with me for 2 seconds. No, I don't want that. I'm trying to figure out where I've saved all my podcasts. I don't know why I'm not good at finding things. Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out at some point, but she does a TED talk on it. So at some point I'll just quickly go silent and just have a proper scroll. But anyways, through bioacoustics, they're actually able to pick up frequencies that are, that they once were of specific animals. And when I say animals, everything from insects to amphibians, you kind of name it. And there's all these gaps that are present now. And that's giving them a better understanding of how many animal species have actually gone extinct. So I'll find that for you. And, nowadays we're starting to discover so many more species that were once thought to be extinct. That could be a number of different reasons, just because the research is a lot better and people go out and explore untouched and often quite dangerous areas where someone that goes on is like, it's more of a tourist would very unlikely go, and they spend months and months and months. And because we are able to understand animals' habitat a lot better, they'll have a better understanding of where to kind of look. So there's so many fish species, lots of different frogs and chameleons that are being found, including some insects and even plants that are kind of coming back. So it's a difficult one to answer. But again, I'm not, like I said, I'm not really qualified to make an educational statement, but I'll definitely look into it and see what other people say. I can only really choose what I would like from various environmentalists, and then try and put something together.
Chatting around a fire is an ancient practice that has connected humanity for centuries, and we want to keep it alive in our modern age. As an explorer, you'll have access to intimate gatherings with our naturalists, fascinating guests, and experts where we share knowledge, insights, and stories around a crackling fire. Rediscover the power of connection. Sign up to be an explorer today and experience the magic of WildEarth's Fireside Chats.
And as you all know, no, I almost said the wrong thing. WildEarth is desperately needs, obviously, your help to be able to keep the show going. So if you would like to make a donation, all you have to do is head over to the WildEarth website, and you'll see that there is a link that says donation. It doesn't matter how big or small. We are, of course, really appreciative of every little bit of help that we can get. So thank you so much for those of you that have donated. You are very kind. Okie dokie. I found the podcast that I was talking about. Obviously I love listening to music as well. But when I do long road trips to various game reserves or national parks, I quite often put on a podcast. So there's a woman by the name of Karen Backer, and she talks extensively about bioacoustics, but specifically, obviously, to do with wildlife. So there's one that's called The Sounds of Life bioacoustics, AI, and ethics, which is brilliant. And then there's another one which I also like, which is quite great. It's called The Sounds of Life: How Digital Technology is Bringing Us Closer to the Worlds of Animals and Plants. So if you can jot those down, I'm sure they're available on various platforms. For those of you that use music apps, I'm sure there is an option to listen to podcasts. But you can just type in Karen Bakker, that's Bakker, and then have a listen. There's another great question here, Catherine. What are my thoughts on humans being able to feel Ellie infrasounds, and if that's why they make us feel so calm and relaxed? Sure. So so those of you that have no idea what infrasounds are, it's actually how most animals communicate. Some, of course, animals have a large range of audible vocalizations, but that humans are able to hear. So it's a difficult one. I mean, elephants will infrasounds will communicate those rumblings. We can't even hear them. But there is something about a breeding herd of elephants, or even just an elephant bull. And I always talk about it being an intimate interaction, not physically touching the elephant, because we typically don't want to do that, or necessarily support organizations where you're allowed to handle and interact with wildlife. Of course, that's up to you, but the world is definitely moving in favor of that. And when you're with them, and I find it more with breeding herds of elephants, so they come around, sometimes they can be quite close to the vehicle, even just a distance away. And it does feel like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. Obviously, if you have a phobia of elephants, you're going to be feeling complete opposite. But I've always said it's like a form of therapy. And quite often when I'm really stressed and just overwhelmed, if I am able to, I'll go and search out and find elephants and just spend a little bit of time with them. And I don't know why, but it makes me feel better. But they are very soothing to be around. It's kind of like if you're on a boat on a lake, you know, when it's not too hot, maybe at sunset. I don't know if you've, or even sunrise, you've ever had that feeling of just absolute peacefulness throughout your entire body. Of course, that also just depends on your spirituality and entirely up to you. But it's definitely something that I feel. Those are two of my favorite things to do. And yeah, so hanging around elephants and spending quality time with them. And then on a boat, specifically on the Zambezi River. It's so still, it's flat. And the colors that reflect off of the water from the sunsets or sunrises, and then to just switch the boat off and to just, you know, float downstream with the current. It's truly spectacular. So I wish that everybody could have an experience like that. And for those of you that are scared of elephants, tell your guides before you go on safari, just so that they can take note of that and not get too close. And slowly over time, hopefully you gain, you can gain their trust again, because elephants are very unlikely to do anything to you. But there are, of course, a lot of exceptions and circumstances. My goodness, we're going to quickly shoot over to the Pilansberg because a bunch of lions have arrived. All the trees. Yesterday we had some elephants behind here too, and we'll see if it's the same group. There was an adult lioness that had a collar on it, and there was also a male, but he didn't look to be a particularly large male. He had a collar too, and they had 3 cubs. I have no idea how old the cubs are, but I think that they were maybe 4.5 to 5 months old, somewhere around there. So this looks like a large female. She doesn't have a collar. And there's another one drinking too. There could have been an entire pride, because for the last 3 days, there we go, this female has got a collar on. For the last 3 days, there actively have been lions around here. And some have got fuller bellies than others. Well, the one that's walking with a collar is definitely the mother of the cubs. You can see Her mammary glands have sort of a dark patch around them, which just shows that the youngsters have been suckling. So I'm almost certain that they were on a kill. And I don't know how many individuals are in this pride. I've never been to the Pilanesberg before, but they do have a lot of lions. But they do this. Oh, there's looks like a young cub, and also just popped out. And I can't imagine that they were, for 3 days sitting on a carcass unless it was something like a giraffe, but then their bellies would be more engorged. Maybe they're moving away from this area now. But it's a bit far, so I don't think they'll go too much of a distance. They'll probably just plop down in the shade somewhere. We've been so spoiled. I've just been so overwhelmed with seeing so many predators this week. I'm really thankful. It's obviously really lovely seeing all the herbivore species, but it's nice to get a bit of diversity. Hey, there's the lodge. It's Kwamaratani that you can just see at the distance. There is a fence around. You can look how lush the green grass is. Okay, we'll keep an eye out if those lions do pop back. Maybe there are some other individuals that still need to have a drink. Let's go check out Jamala and see if we can really have a look for Leander at the differences between males and females. Lots and lots of elephants now. So Leander, remember what I said to you? The female elephants, the cows have got much more sort of square, angular heads. And look at this elephant that's coming in on the right-hand side. Do you see how rounded his forehead is in comparison to the elephant on his left? When she turns, you can see the shape. But male elephants get much larger than females too. But this cow to the left is not a particularly big one.
Discover the wonders of the wild with Safari Snaps, Africam's fun community game. While enjoying the live streams, simply tag the animal you spot. Each tag earns you points based on the rarity of the species. The rarer, the more points you score. Your profile and the Safari Snaps leaderboard will keep track of your impressive tagging skills. Join us on Safari Snaps and let's celebrate the wonders of African wildlife together.
Lots of elephant bottoms. Some little ones hanging around too, of course. Nothing unusual. And now we can see the influx of elephants as the day heats up. Those poor impala don't really have favorable places to drink from. They really do run the risk of getting stuck in the mud if they do venture out too close to the water. So they must be digesting quite a bit of grit, sand particles or whatever, mud particles. And the zebra that's between all the elephants, she looks heavily pregnant. Look how she's bulging out to the side. We are getting to that time of the year where zebras will start dropping their foals. It's normally around now September, October, earlier than when the impala give birth to their lambs. Safs, you've wondered if is it not rainy season in South Africa? The grass doesn't look that green. So it depends on where you are in South Africa. So this game reserve here, Madikwe, is sort of northwest, but very much on the boundary of Botswana. So very, very far north. And the rest of like the sort of greater Kruger and even into Botswana, Zambia, and Mozambique, it's all dry season at the moment. So we'll only get rain. I shouldn't say these areas will only get rain in the next couple of months. It can start, normally we can have a couple of sprinkles now at the end of September going into October, but the big rains typically start in November, December, and can last up to about April. But this year we had unseasonal rain right through May. And then if you head over to the west coast and to the southeast coast of South Africa, the weather patterns are completely different. So now during our winter is when they have their rainy season, and when it is summer, so in December, later time of the year, then it's a little bit more on the dry side. So it really just depends where you are. I would never recommend that anybody goes to Cape Town from about June, even May can be quite chilly and rainy. And then August and September are so windy, but it gets a bit better in October. And then the best months to actually visit Cape Town is around February, early March. It's so peaceful. It's not as hot, also not as busy in terms of tourism. But then it's different. The best time of the year to go on safari is now, a bit earlier, because the vegetation is all dried up. So, firstly, it makes it a bit easier for us to spot wildlife. And then, secondly, the animals are driven to, hang around water sources, whether it's a river or water holes like this one at Jamala. In summer, in the low felt region, shall we call it that, or further north, it's much more difficult to find animals in summertime. So the vegetation is so dense and there's water everywhere. So animals don't have to congregate around one space. So seeing something, or what we see here in Jamala or at other water holes with so many aggregations of different species of animals, it's very unlikely to see something like this. Only really occurs during the dry season. Oh, a couple of you are just saying how much you miss Trishala. I can't even explain in words what an unbelievable person she is. She's so kind and funny. She really got a great sense of humor. And then, of course, she's so intelligent. I love listening to her and learning with her too. She's shared some really interesting facts and studies with myself and many others. Her insights are invaluable. I also wish I got to spend more time with her, but she just is based in Cape Town, so that's quite far away from where I live. It's about a 20-hour drive to get to Cape Town from Hoodspruit. Ah, Sarah, you've just jumped on. You said, hello, lovely people. Hello, Sarah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you can hopefully catch up with everything that we've seen. We've had lions. We've had, obviously, the usuals at Aldonio, elephants, oryx, and zebras. And now we're here at Jamala in Madikwe, just observing the elephants peacefully. I don't know if there's any construction going on this weekend, which can be quite annoying. Obviously, lodges have to do this. They have to maintain the upkeep. But maybe we can try put the ambient sound up a little bit. I don't know about you, but I'm struggling to hear anything. Okay. So it seems there might be it was a little bit of a technical error on the camera. There's a bit of a buzzing noise, so that's why we've got the volume turned down. So don't turn your volume up too much, because when we go to another camera, you might get a shock of your life.
My name is Claire. WildEarth has been part of this home for many years as it connects us to the bush and the culture that we love and miss so much. I became an explorer so that other people around the world can get to experience the African bush in this unique way as well. I am beyond excited that I was drawn to win the prize at Ambakala Game Reserve for 3 nights. It is truly a dream come true.
Sign up today and you could be the one experiencing it for yourself.
Sorry if you heard my dog barking. They're always on high alert because I do live in the bush, so he panics about certain things, and it was because the creepy crawly, the thing that goes around in the swimming pool. What do other people call that in the rest of the world? Um, and decided it was going to try and climb out the pool and vacuum up the sand. Anyway, so I had to go push it in, but Tucker panicked and thought it was something. Everyone at the Waterhole today just seems a lot more relaxed. Yesterday was absolute chaos. I'm sure you can remember. If you didn't catch it, my goodness, maybe we'll experience something again. There were just so many elephants, so many different interactions. It was really great to see because we actually had a question about if are elephants nurturing, and we obviously said of course they are, but then we got to see how they can interact and discipline. A lot of elephants they discipline younger cows, but you more often than not see it with bulls. That was super interesting. But of course, you're going to get more and more, um, you know, interspecies, intraspecies, sorry, interaction. The more animals there are. I forgot what the temperature was going to be here, but I think it's well into the 30s. I wonder what the temperature is here in Hoedspruit. Let me have a look. It's currently 28 degrees Celsius, but it's going to reach a maximum of 32. It's the most perfect day with a gentle breeze. I will definitely be swimming, and I'll pretend like I'm an elephant. One Ellie's shaking her head at the impala. I don't know what they have against impala. I mean, what is an impala going to do? They just kind of mind their own business anyways. Another cow, sir, turning in their direction, saying, hey, get out of here, this is our water. You can hear my terrible South African accent where I forget to pronounce the T's. Okay, we're going to try and cover as many live cameras as we can. Let's go check out not Madikwe. Oh, another part of Madikwe. Sorry, a little bit north and to the east of where Jamala is, and the camera is called Tau. Baboons! And a wildebeest. Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen baboons at Tau yet. Of course, you've probably seen them with some of the other naturalists, or if you're just watching the cameras. But we'll try and stick on them. For those of you that are literally just watching for the first time, this area is filled with crocodiles. And it could be quite interesting because these baboons look like they're going to go much further out. Look at them just hopping over the mud, trying to stick to the green bits. So moving towards the deeper water, where there could most certainly be crocodiles watching them and just sort of hoping for various animals to come down and drink. And baboons don't seem to be too cautious at all. Some digging in the background, but most of them funneling through. Whip! A little hop, skip, and a jump. And they're going to graze. Smart animals. Because there isn't really anything around, this is perfect. I don't know where those other ones went, but we will follow them. But why not grab a few handfuls of lush vegetation? Oh, that was a big jump. I mean, baboons are quite obviously adapted to jumping and climbing. They better be careful that they don't slip and fall face first into the mud. Like what I've done. I've done that so many times. A common moorhen and a blackwing stilt also just in the background. But we're going to stick with the baboons for now. There's even lots of butterflies fluttering around. Some of these plants, so it's not all grass. There's another plant species that's growing there. Maybe they're developing some flowers. And that's what the butterflies are after. Oh gosh, that baboon there using 2 hands, not wasting any time. So baboons have got these cheek pockets, which they will fill up. So they aren't necessarily always eating it in one go, but they can store food there. It's like hamsters. If you've ever had a hamster before. This one's going to move on, maybe do another big jump. I'm sure a lot of the troop is still out digging in the dirt. The lodge is also not very far away from here. And the baboons are heading in towards the left. And if you keep going, that's where the lodge is. Maybe they're going to raid the camp. Smart move. No one else would really appreciate that, but because it's not my house or my lodge, I don't mind so much. Go for it. So where those baboons are feeding now, well, this one's also going to jump across the water. They're okay. Let's go a little bit further. I'm also going to keep an eye out for crocodile heads. We'll have to go a little bit further to the left. Look at them. They're doing exactly what I said. They're climbing over the fence that surrounds, the small fence that surrounds this lodge, just to keep predators, things like, maybe hippos and elephants out. Does not keep the baboons out. And there are also lots of big trees overhanging in this camp, and that could provide a nice, a bit of shade. Maybe they'll go in, have a siesta, but they'll also quite happily sit at the base. And there is one of the crocodiles, if you haven't spotted it, just at the bottom center of the screen. So they typically will come out and bask around here. I have no idea how many crocodiles are actually living in this waterhole. We can really only count the ones that we could see, but I imagine that there'd be plenty more just submerged under the water. White-faced ducks, just bobbing and diving. Mary, you've made a comment and you've said that crocodile doesn't look too hungry at all. No, right now it just looks like it's focusing on basking, but that can change in a dime. And I've seen it happen more often along the Mara River in Kenya. We'll have all these crocodiles doing just what this one is doing, basking in the sun. And when like a wildebeest migration or some of the animals come down to drink, they quickly slink into the water. It also depends though if they are hungry or not. I mean, we know that predators are opportunistic and they'll take a meal whenever, even if they have a full belly. I reckon these crocodiles here though would be sort of more active rather than the crocs and the Mara, especially during the migration months where they, oh my gosh, their stomachs just, well, they engorge themselves, and it looks like they get 2 times the width than what they were before the wildebeest arrived. We don't really see overly fat crocodiles. Yeah, it's also hard to gauge how big this crocodile is. Maybe 2.5 meters? Maybe just over that. Not very big. You can even see it breathing now. Look at those hardened sort of scale-like. And the ridges on their backs all going down their spine. Very tough armored plating. Yesterday we were having some outrageous conversations, but they did make me chuckle and were most certainly thought-provoking. And Kathy Lee, you said, oh, imagine if some of these animals could fly. Can you imagine a flying crocodile? That would be terrifying. What would their wings be made out of? Like stretched skin? I'd not like that.
We love all the support. We read all the comments, and now we want to acknowledge our biggest fans. Do you know when Ribbon was seen last? Or the names of June's cubs? Do you remember the last time we were up close and personal with an elephant? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you are in for a treat. WildEarth's Fan of the Month. We are looking for you. For more details, make sure to read our monthly mailer and keep an eye out on our social media pages. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Hello, grey heron. Yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? We watched this grey heron. Actually, I think it was 2 days in a row. Catch little catfish. Maybe we'll get lucky again today. Lots of them in the water. Looks like it's maybe seen something. It's standing very still. It's just some wind creating. As you can see the grass blowing. It's also creating ripples on the surface of the water. Maybe we'll see some big bubbles. And that will be an indicator that there is something down there. It's normally catfish. I haven't seen any terrapins, which is surprising. You can see now the heron is kind of looking elsewhere. And their eyesight is just remarkable. I mean, if we were to be, even just from this angle, maybe if you had polarized sunglasses on, you'd be able to see a bit better. But for the most part, that water is so murky, we would not see anything. Unless it was a fish with fairly shiny scales, but that's not the case with a catfish, and it would turn and the light would catch it, then you might sort of see a little silvery sheen. Like even crocodiles hunting in murky waters because they catch a lot of fish. A lot of people don't realize that crocodiles do eat fairly often, but because they're reptiles, they don't necessarily need to. They can slow their metabolisms right down. But fish is a rather large part of crocodiles all over the world's diet. But obviously slightly different though. With the crocodiles, they've got these sensory pits, which helps them pick up on vibrations. There's some birds, of course, like storks, yellow-billed storks, for an example, that will move through the water with their beaks open and then snap them shut if something swims through their beak. The white-faced ducks, whistling ducks. La 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 la. They do look funny when they go upside down. I reckon you could probably put elevator music over the top of this while they're doing it, and then you could suit it very well. There's still a couple of baboons. That must have been quite a large troop. It was a little while ago that most of them jumped over the water and headed straight for the lodge. Whee, big jump. I can't help but make sound effects. The waterbuck too. She's come to feed out right in the open, just like the baboons were doing. Is some red-knobbed coots, those big black birds with like sort of a white face. And a common moorhen in front. And of course a blacksmith lapwing also lurking to the right. Well, there's a pair of them just to the right of the waterbuck. And look how deep that waterbuck has actually sunk into the mud, but they're quite well adapted. And in fact, if there are marshy areas, that is their preferred habitat, where they like grass, but they'll also munch on other aquatic vegetation. Wendy, this is a goodie. You've asked, are all animals well aware of which animals are predator and which aren't? I think for the most part in wild open ecosystems where there are an abundance of different predatory species, from birds of prey to predatory reptiles and various mammals and insect species, like, there's a long list there. They definitely learn, and they have that natural instinct. But animals that have been domesticated for a very long time and don't encounter predators will lose that. And that's why, for example, a lot of people introduce dogs, the Kangal dog, or the Anatolian Shepherd, as it's also known as, and to help protect livestock. So it's a bit on the difficult side. Obviously, younger animals, so say a young impala, maybe hasn't quite learnt what say a lion or a leopard is. They hear maybe the adults alarming, and then they're going to have to start associating the scents and the sights with that specific predator. I think it really just depends on the situation. I hope that makes sense. A nice close-up of the baboons, but also that plant. So it does have little flowers on it. That explains why the butterflies are here. But I mean, the butterflies, of course, could come down and get some moisture from the mud and pick up different minerals too. I have no idea what it is, though. Sorry, the dogs are playing with one another. Don't know if that plant is indigenous or invasive. Unfortunately, we see a lot of invasive plant species. I mean, it's the same issue all over the world. but particularly around water systems, because those seeds are transported down rivers, streams, even brought in by various animals, a lot of mammal species, and especially baboons, because they have such a varied diet but do feed on a lot of seed pods and a lot of fruit. They're going to be majorly responsible for seed dispersal.
Are you WildEarth's biggest fan? Well, we have a brand new competition for you. Join our naturalists on Safari Live and listen out for weekly questions. To enter the competition, head over to our Instagram, search #WildEarthFanOfTheMonth and comment your answer under the post. The monthly winner will be determined by the total quickest and most correct answers. We announce our winner at the end of every month. Tune in to Safari Live daily.
It's quite easy for these baboons to pull the grasses out, those roots, and the soil is going to be quite wet. Nothing's really going to be holding it in. It must be more difficult when they feed just outside of where this waterhole is, and everything's so dry and the ground is hardened. Not that there's much grass is safe, but they'll have to be digging out maybe some bulbs. And also, just because we don't see the grasses doesn't mean that there aren't still roots underneath, because some species of grass actually last for more than one season, and then they just lie dormant under the surface of the ground, and then will regenerate once the rain arrives. Where'd you go? Probably back in towards the lodge. You can see the fence there. Lots of big footprints too. I think the elephants and buffalo have moved around here. Looking a bit quiet now at Tau. Just the Egyptian geese and then a couple of other bird species. Wonder where all the crocodiles went. I doubt that they would have moved. Although they can. Oh, wow, okay. We're going to go to a slightly busier camera with our favorites, the elephants. Hello, bulls. Eight of them. And a couple of oryx behind them. This looks like all these water holes are dropping, whether it's because of so many animals drinking from it or also because of evaporation with the extreme temperatures. Oh, and some eland are now joining too. Sanjeev, I see that you said that there's an elephant conference going on. You're not wrong. There's two individuals there that have got decent sized tusks. We've obviously seen much bigger elephants, but not today. It really is just such a beautiful day. But the weather that I'm experiencing is very different to what's happening in Old Donyo. Lots and lots of clouds all building up. It was the same thing yesterday. We haven't actually had a clear sky and been able to see Mount Kilimanjaro, which is just behind these elephants, for a few days now. It's like lots of starlings and doves all taking off. It's quite surprising, though, that when birds drink around elephants, especially maybe some of the younger elephants, that they don't try to grab them. I would.
Those sounds just go straight through you.
That's one brave zebra and eland going to face all those giants. Well, there's one elephant that seems to be hogging the entire waterhole by standing in it. That would be me. If I was an elephant, I'd definitely do that. I think I'd be selfish around the water. But there's some more zebras coming in from the right. I think they'll go around and come and drink from the side closer to the camera. It would make sense. There's not even much interaction between these bulls at the moment. They're all just standing so quietly. But perhaps it will change as more and more zebra arrive. Also, I can't believe we haven't seen any giraffe. It's the first time we've not gone a waterhole show without seeing giraffes. I don't know if I'd be as brave as that zebra squeezing in between two elephants. Pretty close together. Rightio. If you have only joined us for the first time, sadly, we've only got 30 minutes left of the Waterhole show. But we have seen some wonderful creatures today. We had hyenas to start at Juma. We even were graced with the presence of lions at Kwamaratani in the Pilansberg Game Reserve. And we've had loads of elephants, zebras, finally a giraffe. I just said that we hadn't seen a giraffe yet all morning. Some baboon action at Tau, So overall, it's been quite nice. We've had lots of moments of silence today. And just, it's obviously always good to just kind of enjoy it. And then, of course, don't forget a little bit later, the sunrise, no, why do I do this? The sunset safari will take place. And hopefully you'll see more cats, more hyenas, and who knows, maybe some other interesting interactions. Oh, that's a big cloud of dust. The zebras are obviously all running around. I think it was stirred up by them. That just goes to show how dry it is. They're looking for a gap. Now it's a bit more difficult to find a suitable place to drink. They're so impatient. Oh my goodness, look at that oryx. It's tiny in comparison to an elephant. If it didn't have such long horns, it'd probably go right underneath it. But that those sharp horns would prick the belly and give an elephant a fright. That wouldn't be a fun interaction. No, these bulls are not up to too much, but it looks like the herds are finally starting to gather at Jamala. Here they are. Like I said, we haven't seen buffalo here for a few days though. Just wildebeest, zebra, giraffe, loads of elephants. Which is a pity. I quite like watching the stubbornness of buffalo. Perhaps there's another waterhole close by that they are frequenting. And just once again, if you're wondering why we don't have much ambient sound, it's just an issue with this camera. There's a buzz. So we won't be able to hear the trumpeting or the splashing around of elephants. Gosh, there's so many elephants funneling in. If you look to the right, a whole group of them. Still not as many as yesterday. Oh, okay. We're going to go back to Ajuma where we first started because the elephants there are having a pool party. Look at them in the middle. The hippos have definitely moved off. They wouldn't be too happy about the elephants swimming here. Oh, they're having the best time. Look how that one big cow in the middle. She just completely dunked herself, head first. No, it's not very deep, not for the elephants at least. Or maybe the young ones, they might not be able to touch the bottom. But easy enough for them to submerge themselves almost completely. Elephants will cross really deep rivers though where they can't touch the bottom. They're very capable swimmers. But to roll around like this and just really enjoy it, it's better if they can stand. Look at those little trunks popping up like snorkels. I wonder how many of you watching have actually dozed off now. Wonder how long these elephants were swimming here. I'd spend the rest of the day. Why would you need to move off? And I think I'd just stay in the water and stretch out what trunkfuls of whatever vegetation was close by. I'd sacrifice the quality of food for ample swim time.
Do you love relaxing at a waterhole with the sights and sounds of Africa all around you? Well, we have some really exciting news for you. From August 1st, Africam is joining forces with WildEarth to bring the majesty of Africa right into your living room with 9 incredible new Waterhole cameras from across South Africa and Kenya. Get ready to embark on a new journey. This is Live at the Waterhole.
And there they go. I don't think they're going to necessarily come out into the open. There's a huge drainage system that is just behind those dead trees, where they'll quite often go and feed in there. Still some nice vegetation. And just see the grass is so dry at the moment. I wouldn't want to be feeding on that. And just like that, they're gone. Doesn't look too windy there at the moment, but maybe it's going to pick up for this afternoon. I actually don't know what the wind was like this morning. It hasn't been too bad, but by all the leaves that I can see blown around my garden last night, there must have been a bit of wind that was rustling all the leaves. I'm so sad. I wish the leaves would stop falling now and that the new ones would all push out. I am not a fan of raking all the time. I say this, but I need to iron a shirt dress just now. And that is my least favorite thing to do, is ironing. I'd rather scrub a toilet. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way about ironing. Okay, bye elephants. Enjoy your day. Thank you for the pool party. Let's go to Tao. Oh, we got more elephants, but not swimming, doing something different. Oh, never mind. They're swimming and they've created swimming in a mud bath, really. And the baboons have come round. Is it Chakma baboons? There's some more of them. Not all of them have gone to the lodge. You know, that looks like a lot of fun. They're doing two things at once. There comes a breeding herd as well. And a older, well, not an older bull, also charging through. Oh, shame. Look at that. Both mother and calf are missing their tails. What a coincidence. Do you see those two in the middle? Ah, interesting. They could have lost them in a number of different ways. Crocodiles, predators. I doubt it's something to do with, genetics. It's just unfortunate. It also looks like that cow is standing on the one back of the elephant. Kind of created like an optical illusion. Okay, never mind, it's gone now. And you can see all the bulls starting to stream in. It's not particularly pleasant for that cow and calf. That younger individual being told to get out of here. Not too much space for all of those elephants to roll around in. Hey, there we go. The trumpeting. I had this one very funny sighting at Pridelands, and the elephants were swimming at Nglovu Dam. And this elephant was playing with a branch, basically, was forked, and ended up getting it stuck. And it kind of was sitting on the top of its neck with the fork on either side. And it was struggling to get it off for ages. Eventually it came loose, but it was quite entertaining to watch. And look at the way that they're sitting. It's definitely going to help dig it deeper. You might hear some puppy dreaming sounds. But Bull at the back is in the mood to play. And comes another bull, making his way in. Oh, he's completely underwater. He just came straight in and plopped down. Reese, so you're wondering why we don't ever see elephants sleeping or lying down on the ground? Probably just not at the right place at the right time. So elephants don't need to sleep every single day, as new studies have shown. It was thought that they would sleep every, a couple of hours a day, but that's not the case. Young elephants, of course, are going to sleep more, so it's more common, I suppose, to see calves and subadults lying down on their side, sometimes under a shady tree, or in the shade of their mothers and other members of the herd. To see fully grown elephants sleeping is something that you actually, as a guide, you see quite often, but that's because we're in the bush every single day. I'm likely to see one sleeping around the water's edge. And elephants snore as well. When I was working up in Zambia, there was this big bull that used to come and sleep next to the tent I was living in every single evening. And the first time I heard the sound, I thought, what on earth is that? I was like, is it a hippo? Or a buffalo or something. Anyways, and I went outside and it was this elephant who was lying flat on his side, snoring away. And then when I was in Kenya, I was driving around very early in the morning, and after spending it all night, and I thought, sure, that's a big termite mound in an odd place, because it wasn't quite light. It was also an elephant lying down. So you do see it. There is, like, I suppose, a myth where people say elephants wouldn't lie down on their sides because their bodies are so big that their organs would collapse on themselves. That's not really the case at all. But elephants do a lot of resting standing up. They'll just stand very still, relax their trunks, and they'll close their eyes. Quite often their ears still keep flapping though. Oops.
Do you remember the stars of Juma? Tandi, Hosanna, Darkmane, and many more will appear in our tribute. In honor of Animal Remembrance Month, join us as we look back at the characters that stole millions of hearts across the globe. Watch it live. WildEarth. We are Safari.
That elephant cow is not impressed with the baboons all charging back from the lodge. Perhaps the baboons have been chased out of camp. Very unhappy with their presence. I don't know why she's got such a bee in her bonnet today. This could be a perfect example of misplaced aggression, which we were talking quite a bit about yesterday on the show. But I thought there were a few more baboons that were at the lodge, so maybe we'll get another stream of them coming by. We'll just have to wait and see. A heron is back at it though. I think the heron is also hoping that maybe the elephants would move through and stir up some of the aquatic species. That would definitely help with hunting. You can also see the black-winged stilts and the are also lingering around the elephants, doing the same thing, and the blacksmith lapwings. Great type of symbiotic behavior, which we see fairly often. Elephants are not being affected negatively, nor are they gaining anything from it, but the birds, of course, are getting insects chased up, so they get an easier meal. Look at that one elephant was trumpeting and how everyone has responded. Oh, even helmeted guinea fowl. It's the same elephant. Oh, this is a bull. No, the previous one was a cow. This is someone else. You can see now no one is tolerant of his behavior. What's wrong? There's an older bull, sort of stopping him in his place. Might reprimand him and tell him to just calm down. Oh no, he's challenging him. Seems to be settling down now. Sure, Lenny, this is a difficult question to answer because I can obviously only guess. You've asked, what is the most elephants I've ever seen together at once? I've seen big herds in the Lower Zambezi National Park, but actually in the Masai Mara, I'd say are some of the biggest groups, but they weren't one group of elephants. It was differently families that were feeding in the same place. And then, actually, you know what? Pridelands. I talk absolute nonsense. Pridelands, which is part of Baluli Game Reserve. It's where Eco Training has one of their camps. And, around in Lorvu Dam, there must have been hundreds. I mean, that place at one point was filled with elephants. I'd say on one of the afternoons we just sat and watched. We didn't even go out on an activity. There must have been about 150 elephants altogether, which was spectacular, also during dry season. So to be expected, but I think if we keep watching Jamala, we might get the same. But of course, we're going to be doing this all again tomorrow. So make sure you catch me on the last morning, well, my last morning, live at the Waterhole. But if you are busy, that's okay, not a problem. Maybe you'll be able to either catch the sunrise or the sunset safaris, those live drives. But thank you again for all your questions and all your comments. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.